Now from KWWL, this is the Steel Report.
And welcome to this week's edition of the Steel Report. Our topic today is Grow Cedar Valley, the regional economic development organization, undergoing a change in leadership right now. So let's meet our guest. Welcome back to the program, longtime Grow Cedar Valley President and CEO Carrie Dara, who is retiring from her role at Grow Cedar Valley. And she's been on the show many times. And Carrie, I really appreciate that. Let's welcome the new president and CEO of Grow Cedar Valley. That is Katy Susong, leaving her job as the first female president of Cardinal Construction Company here in the Cedar Valley to begin this new era with Grow Cedar Valley. So ladies, welcome to the program. It's great to have you on. I kind of like the change in leadership because it's kind of a new era, isn't it, for Grow Cedar Valley? And both of you are already well known. Katy, you were already on the Grow Cedar Valley Board of Directors, so you're very familiar with what's going on. Carrie, let's start though. What exactly is Grow Cedar Valley? How would you get to this point today?
Yeah, for sure, Ron. So as we talked earlier, we are celebrating, Grow Cedar Valley is celebrating their 20-year anniversary this year. So while we are an organization that's been around for a while, we weren't known as Grow Cedar Valley except for the last 5 years. Mm-hmm. Before that, we were the Greater Cedar Valley Alliance, and then the Greater Cedar Valley Alliance and Chamber, and then we grew into Grow Cedar Valley. So again, 20-year length of time that we've been in the community, and our role and our goal is to strengthen the economy in our community by helping remove barriers for our businesses to grow. And that means right now, that's really a lot to do with the workforce. Everybody, every business, every industry is talking about getting workforce and keeping workforce. And so we're laser focused on that priority right now. But to your point, Grow Cedar Valley has been around. We took over the Waterloo and Cedar Falls chambers when they merged. They came under our umbrella. The TechWorks campus is under our umbrella. And at this point, Leader Valley is under our umbrella, although they will be soon going out on their own. So again, we've been helping incubate and cultivate opportunities in the Cedar Valley for a long time.
A year ago, Katy, would you have thought that you were going to be in this role, this new role as the president and CEO of Grow Cedar Valley, having been with Cardinal Construction?
Sure. Well, I honestly had only been CEO of Cardinal for a couple of years and really wasn't looking to make a move at the time, but then Carrie and I started having conversations, and she had indicated that she was looking, or at least thinking about retiring, and really my interest was piqued. One of the things I loved about my role at Cardinal was the fact that I did get to develop the community in a way, but really in a small capacity in my role at Cardinal. And I think what I love about this position is the opportunity to have greater impact on a broader scale across our whole Cedar Valley region and community.
Now, remember the last time you were on this program, you were talking about Cedar Falls Economic Development Corporation with former Mayor Jim Brown.
That's right.
And I've seen you do some of the interviews on Channel 15, so you're already a pro at this particular area of it anyway. So, but when you look ahead, Carrie, let's look back just a little bit. What are you most proud of and what you accomplished? You took over when Steve Dust went to Wapello County down at Ottumwa.
Yep. And I've told people this for years and years. I love what I do and I love the team that I work with, but where I find my biggest reward is working with the Cedar Valley Leadership Institute. And so I've been doing that the last 12 years. It's been part of this organization for close to 20 years. But nurturing and growing and helping empower emerging leaders is so critical for our community, and that I get to be part of those groups every single year in a new crop of emerging leaders coming by every year. For me personally, that's the most rewarding piece of what I do.
Yeah, and you always seem to make a stop here at KWWL for that later in the afternoon, so I always appreciate you inviting me to be a part of that. Katy, when you look ahead at this, what do you think is going to be the most difficult challenge? With all the things going on right now, we have higher interest rates. Hopefully they'll come down this year. Inflation is still very high because the rate of inflation has come down, but the prices have not. What are some of the members of Grow Cedar Valley telling you about their concerns?
Well, that's a great question. And fortunately and unfortunately, those particular issues are universal. You know, interest rates are not specific just to this area. So I think for us, and what we're hearing, and Carrie alluded to it a bit, was workforce. That has been an issue, is going to continue to be an issue, and so we need to make sure that our efforts make strides towards improving the workforce here in the Cedar Valley for our investors and our businesses.
So both of you have a board to which you have had to answer a really kind of a who's who of Cedar Valley business. I mean, a tough board, I assume. So what are they telling you? What have they told you about what you needed to do in your role? And Katie will let you follow up on that.
Well, when I took over as CEO, and as you know, I was part of the organization for 17 years,
Right.
so it wasn't a new placement for me, but it's certainly a new position. It was about strengthening relationships and making sure that where we were being helpful, we were assisting in helping strengthen our economy. But I think being seen and being supportive, and what I've told not only our board, but our team and anyone who asks the question, Grow Cedar Valley doesn't have to own everything, and I think there was a point in our life that we thought that that's how we showed our strength. And I'm a firm believer that empowering and supporting other great ideas and helping them reach their goals is as important as us owning it and taking the credit for it. So that's one thing that I've been really proud of, is that we seem to have a board that supports that, our team supports that, our constituents and our investors support the fact that we don't have to own everything that we're going after, but we do have to help our businesses recognize what's out there, what are the opportunities, what are the resources, what are the pitfalls, what are we going to do to help them see another day and open another door.
Katie, why don't you take this one? What kind of partnerships currently exist, and how do you, as the new CEO and president, plan to expand in that particular area?
Certainly. So as far as partnerships that currently exist, I think Carrie alluded to the fact that TechWorks is a component of Grow Cedar Valley. Certainly something that's going to continue to be a priority as that area continues to develop. Additionally, Grow Cedar Valley is a part of the Cedar Valley Coalition, which is an organization that advocates for projects and different things that are happening, initiatives that are happening around our community, and that is certainly going to be a priority of mine. I have had some great conversations at this point with the mayor of Cedar Falls and city administrator, the mayor of Waterloo, planning to have that same conversation with Waverly in the near future as well. But I think one thing that we are looking forward to is really approaching regional issues as a group. And that's something that I'm excited about, because I grew up in Waterloo, lived in Waterloo for a long time, graduated from Waterloo West, now live in Cedar Falls, and I'm passionate about this community as a whole. And so I think for me to know that we've got a great mayor in Mayor Hart, and we've got a great mayor in Mayor Loddick, and a great team for both cities, I'm excited to see what we can do on behalf of the region, working together.
I'm glad you mentioned Waverly, because Carrie, most people think of Grow Cedar Valley, just Waterloo and Cedar Falls. It goes out beyond the Cedar Valley, doesn't it? Yeah.
It certainly does. And so we've always said that when it comes to the traditional Chamber of Commerce portion of what we do, that is pretty much Waterloo, Cedar Falls. When it comes to business retention and expansion, that's pretty much countywide. But when it comes to talent and workforce, that is regional, and that's like a 7-county area that we reach out into, because we know that our workforce doesn't all live in the metro area. They live in the surrounding communities. So, and back to the workforce piece, I just wanted to mention that while we talk about workforce all the time, we're talking about the logistical pieces about how we keep our workforce here and how we attract workforce, but it also goes into the placemaking and the piece of how do we create a community where people want to come. So that's beyond just the people, it's creating that place where people want to stay and want to come. And so placemaking is kind of the buzzword anymore that's going on with the state IEDA and the state level and Debbie Durham, and they talk about what are the communities in the state of Iowa that are taking an extra step, extra intention of making sure that they're the place that people want to go and stay.
What kind of services do you offer, and how do you expand those services even more in the future?
I'll start with that, and Katie can follow up, but we just held a lunch and learn on artificial intelligence, and we had panelists there, and what we wanted to do was expose our investors, and actually we opened it up to the public, but primarily for our investors, about AI, what that means, and that's a very deep and wide topic, and you could just get lost in it for hours and hours and days. We just wanted to touch the surface so people knew who to go to with questions, depending on what size business they had, or what opportunities they had, or what resources they might want to access. So we have made sure that we were getting that information to our businesses so that they knew who to go to next. But when it comes to placemaking, it used to be that those kinds of projects, like the River Project in Cedar Falls, or like the bridge project in Waterloo, lighting the bridge. Those used to be considered kind of fluff, feel-good kinds of projects. Anymore, they're not fluff at all. They're about what is going to make this community a desirable place to stay or to come. So that's very, very much a part of economic development, far, far more than it ever used to be.
And by the way, the real Ron Steele's down in the break room. This is the AI version. So, Katy, follow up on that, will you?
Absolutely. Well, I think one of our priorities at Grow Cedar Valley is to make sure that our investors see a benefit to the services that we provide. And we want to be a leader and really be somebody or an organization that can be looked to for best practices. So trying to stay ahead of the game, on top of things. So like AI, for example, that's something that we're all talking about right now. There's a lot of questions and concerns around AI. So making sure that we're educating ourselves and researching and connecting and collaborating with the right people to make sure that the information we're providing to our investors is what they're looking for and information that can be trusted. So I would say along those same lines, we are, from a programming standpoint moving forward, one of our kind of key tenets is going to be an inclusive community. We want Grow Cedar Valley to be an organization that represents the business community as a whole. And so we are going to be taking a look internally about what we're providing as far as benefits and what that looks like for our large investors and how that maybe is a different benefit from what we offer our small investors. So we're really going to be taking a deep dive moving forward into the things that we've done to make sure that they still make sense for our organization, that they make sense for our investors, that our investors are seeing a benefit. We really want to make sure that we are being intentional moving forward to provide continued value for our investors in the greater Cedar Valley community.
Yeah, so I've spent a lot of time in the Des Moines area because I have grandkids down there and kids. So when we're driving in, you see the big Amazon place, you have Apple. How do you attract a company like that, or are you looking to attract a company like that? Do they come to you? Have you made contact with other larger companies that you try to say, hey, listen, the Cedar Valley is where we would like you to be?
So we have on our staff team Lisa Scupel, who is a professional in economic development for a couple decades. And she absolutely is the go-to person when it comes to those kinds of opportunities. So the state, when they see leads come through the state funnel, they come to us. If the specifications on that lead could lead to a Cedar Valley opportunity, then they come straight to our office and they go to Lisa. And then she takes a look at those specifications, looks at those needs of that particular application and see, is that a Cedar Falls possibility? Is it Waterloo, maybe Waverly? It's a regional partnership that looks at these things. But to your point, she also does site selection, so she goes all over the country to different selection shows to take a look and see what projects are out there that might be a good fit for us. So they do come to us, but we also go out and do some research. But then we have that whole workforce thing too. And so what they're looking at is, so is this a community that can support our workforce? And one of the leads that we worked with last year was substantially intrigued because of the engineering college that was being started at University of Northern Iowa and Wartburg. And so those are the kinds of things they look at, the amenities that not amenities, but the benefits that that our larger employers and our larger investors are putting together that will really contribute to the workforce that is needed for those kinds of applications.
Do you lay at night awake, Katy, thinking, how can I attract one of these big companies to make a big splash here in my first year as president and CEO of Grow Cedar Valley?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Carrie has done a fantastic job in this role, so it is big shoes to fill, certainly. I am excited, I think, primarily about the opportunities related to economic development. As I said, I'm a native of this community. I love this community, and I know what it has to offer, and I would love to be a part of bringing other organizations to this community because I think once people are here, they'll see what is so fantastic about the Cedar Valley. One of our priorities in the near term really is taking a look at regional identity. We all talk about the Cedar Valley. Everybody has a different idea of what the Cedar Valley is. So one of the things that we're prioritizing is really identifying what the Cedar Valley area is, because right now, if you search the Cedar Valley on the internet, if you go to Google and you search it, you're going to get a variety of results, none of which are actually this area.
Really? Wow.
Ironically. So one of our priorities is really going to be targeting and identifying what the Cedar Valley is, and then getting to a point where we can take that to a national level and begin really to market effectively to other businesses and organizations that are not in this community, with the hopes of bringing them here.
Okay, let's take a real quick break here on the Steel Report. Come back and talk more about Grow Cedar Valley, the past, present, and future with these ladies in just a moment. And welcome back to this week's edition of the Steel Report. We're talking Grow Cedar Valley with the former president and CEO, Carrie Dara, and the new president and CEO, Katy Susong. When we came up on the second floor here at KWWL, we came up in a Schumacher elevator, pretty much brand new in the last 5 years. Another kind of one of those Cedar Valley companies that is well known, but really not that well known, but sells these elevators all over the world. That's the kind of company that you're looking for, isn't it? And trying to make sure that retention is huge, isn't it?
Retention is absolutely huge. I mean, it's much easier to grow a company than to start new. Even though we are going to be looking for new companies, we want to grow those that we have and help them grow with whatever resources they may need or whatever connections they may need. But you're right, having those companies that are flagship companies like Schumacher, and there are many companies in the Cedar Valley that carry that flag, and making sure that we still maintain that environment where they can still thrive, for sure.
And of course, John Deere, of course, is kind of the kind of major component of all of this. And Katy, when you look ahead, what do you see with John Deere? They made such a billion-dollar investment here in the valley, and how do you view that investment, and how can we expand on that with other businesses?
Well, our relationship, this community's relationship with John Deere, is incredibly important, and we're so grateful for John Deere's continued investment in a variety of ways in the Cedar Valley and beyond. I think that what we've seen certainly is other businesses that come to our community as a result of John Deere being here, and so we certainly need to continue to do what we can to support John Deere and other organizations of that size in our community. That is always going to be a priority. To Carrie's point earlier, I think one thing that is very interesting about Grow Cedar Valley is that we certainly have this economic development arm, and it is very important. It's a huge part of our business and what we do, bringing new businesses here, retaining businesses. With regard to retaining business, we do have the chamber function. So we do have the benefit of these great programs that our investors can take part in, that they can provide an opportunity for our businesses and the people that work in those businesses to create community. And I think when the people in our community feel like they belong, then they're much more likely to stay here. And so I think some of the efforts that we're doing with our existing programming, and then some of the things we're going to be taking a look at moving forward to make sure, again, that we're an inclusive organization, will all serve us well with regard to retaining the businesses that we have.
And of course, politics has to play a role in business. It does, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on your point of view. You do have a governmental branch within the Greater Cedar Valley, and Steve Furman, I assume, is going to continue to be that person.
Steve is our government affairs director, and this legislative session has been somewhat challenging, just because trying to get through some of the issues when there's one or two that are really dominating the attention. So Steve reports. In fact, we had a board meeting this morning and we had a report. But our role is not as much lobbying. That's our Iowa Chamber Alliance relationship, is the lobbyist part of our organization. But our role then is to take what's going on and then translate it back to how it's going to affect our businesses. So what's going on in Des Moines or what's going on in Washington, what are those decisions, how are they going to impact our businesses? And then that's what we try to do, is to translate those kinds of things back.
What do we need right now in the Cedar Valley? What is a skill level? And really, I mean, that's what do you mean by that? What kind of jobs and what kind of skills are you looking for?
Well, I think when you would look at the current industry needs, you will see healthcare, you'll see with John Deere, you'll see manufacturing, and you'll need the higher skill workforce. And There's all technology. I mean, there's all kinds of things, and each company is going to have a different need. But I would say that those are the industry needs that we're hearing about and seeing about that are growing in the Cedar Valley. I don't know if you've got other.
No, I would echo that. I would say construction, right along with manufacturing, is another. I would say construction still. But I think what we need in this community, specifically as it relates to those positions and making sure that we can retain those people, is quality workforce housing. We need housing to be able to support the people that live here. Certainly we've got great amenities, we've got lots of other benefits to living in the Cedar Valley, but ultimately when it comes down to it, people need a place to live. And so that is going to continue to be a focus, both indirectly and directly, for Grow Cedar Valley.
But I would tell you that what I know in the 6 years that I've been in this position, I use the strengths that I have in the way that our board and our executive committee wanted our organization to grow. But I also knew what my limitations were, and I know we're at a point in the organization where we need to start really being more bold. We really need to be a lot more visionary. We need to be really looking at some strategic things that maybe as I was strengthening relationships, we didn't do as much of that planning. So I'm excited, and I know I said this earlier, but I'm really, really excited for the changes that are going to happen. And I know that while I'm retiring from this position, I'm not retiring from life. I'll be doing all kinds of other fun things. Don't know what they are yet, but so I'm really, really excited for the organization, for the community, having Katy's leadership. I know she is the type of leader that's going to make the difference that this stage of the organization needs.
I've got a fantastic team that I get to work with every day at Grow Cedar Valley, and so working with our team, our great board, all of our fantastic volunteers on all of our various committees, I am just so excited to get to work on behalf of Grow Cedar Valley and the greater Cedar Valley community.
So both of you grew up in this area. I was not born here in Waterloo Cedar Falls, but I've been here 50 years, so I feel like this,
same difference.
I mean, but we all made the choice, the conscious choice, to make this our home. And as I understand Grow Cedar Valley, that's the exact goal that you have, to improve the lives of everybody who lives within the Cedar Valley area. Can you expand on that a little bit, Katy, since you're taking the new role on?
Sure, absolutely. Certainly it starts with our investors, our business community, but as I said, or as we've talked about throughout our time together, the economic development piece, the workforce piece, the placemaking piece, that is certainly something that impacts every person that lives in our region. And so I'm just really, as I've said, excited to get to work on behalf of the communities that we serve, to make this a place that everybody wants to raise their families, to make this community a place that people enjoy spending their time, that there's something for everybody, and ultimately where people find their community and want to stay for 50 years. So I love the Cedar Valley. This is home for us. It has been for many years and will continue to be, and I just look forward to getting to play a small part in continuing to make the Cedar Valley a great place to call home.
One of the efforts that I know Katy and the current Grow Cedar Valley team are going to be expanding on and really developing is our Live the Valley placemaking, and that is all of what you just said about the Cedar Valley being a place that you want to come to and you want to stay. So Live the Valley is everything good about the Cedar Valley, and they're looking at little known facts or little known opportunities, little known experiences that folks either who live here or don't live here aren't paying attention to or aren't aware of, and really sharing that so that people, I always tell people when I meet with them, like CVLI or students from UNI, we know that you may have opportunities to leave the Cedar Valley, but I want it to be the hardest decision you ever made, so that it's not an easy one to leave, and knowing that the door is always open to come back. And so that this Live the Valley piece of what I know Katy's going to be expanding on with our other team members is really, it will help with the branding of the Cedar Valley.
Absolutely.
It will really help with the marketing piece, and it really just is an expansion of making sure that we can keep people here.
Well, best of luck to both of you. Carrie, you've done such a great job. It's been a privilege knowing you all these years, and of course you're still going to be around. Katy, you represent the new generation of the leadership going forward, entrepreneurship, also the people who I guess support our nonprofits too. We need people to be philanthropists too, and I think you represent that generation as well. So best of luck too. I know you're going to do a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking the time to come in. I know you're very busy.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to wrap up things here on the Steel Report in just a moment. And welcome back as we wrap up another edition here on the Steel Report. Be sure to check out all of our recent episodes on kwwo.com. That's it for this week. We'll see you here with a new program next week.